Named after the fastest animal on Earth, the new Sabre Peregrine better be quick to live up to its namesake, the Peregrine Falcon. Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and today we're diving into a new addition to the Star Citizen universe, specifically on the racing roster types of ships, and it's a ship that's pushing boundaries and setting new standards for speed, being the Sabre Peregrine. This isn't just a variant of the Sabre you're familiar with. The Peregrine is the fastest Sabre model ever created, and it's intended to dominate the racetrack if you're buying into the sales hype. But how does it stack up against other racing ships? Is it worth the hefty price tag? Should you buy the Peregrine? Let's find out. The Peregrine is built for one thing and one thing only: speed. It takes the successful Sabre chassis. This version has been stripped of its military roots, and that's really probably better said as assets, and it's been tuned specifically for racing by optimizing it to go faster than any other Sabre that we've seen. The Peregrine trades all firepower for bespoke thrusters and high-performance engines, pushing its straightaway speed into a whole different category. In fact, the Peregrine's SCM speed sits at 267 meters per second, and that forward speed when boosted jumps all the way up to 654, which makes it faster than most of the ships in Star Citizen's racing lineup, and about 10% faster than the Firebird, which is already a significant improvement over the base Sabre model that's in the game by a good margin. That boost forward speed is going to be critical because it's what allows the Peregrine to shoot past competitors in a straight line race. For tracks like Defford Link, I think, or even like Crusaders Daymar Rally, where those straightaway stretches are significant, the Peregrine's unmatched forward acceleration makes it a clear contender. It's got almost 30 Gs of forward thrust, which is just monstrous. And if we compare the Peregrine to some of the other top racing ships like the M50 and the 350R, they can come in close in top speed, but they really can't keep up with the Peregrine's insane boost performance. The M50, for example, hits a top speed in nav mode of 1450, which is just 2 meters per second faster than the Peregrine's 1448, but when it comes to acceleration, the Peregrine just pulls ahead by a pretty good margin. But what's really important to note when balancing everything is how this ship compares to others when it becomes more relevant in technical courses. So let's not forget that speed isn't the only factor in racing. Agility plays a huge role, especially in technical courses with lots of turns. The Peregrine's focus on straight line speed comes at a cost. With a pitch of 61 and a yaw of 51, the Peregrine is notably less agile compared to ships like the Fury LX, or even like the Gamma, which excel in turning. The Fury LX, for example, boasts a pitch and yaw of 72, making it far more suited for those tight corners and banking. The Gamma is another competitor that stands out when we talk about agility, with best-in-class pitch, roll, and retaining those values as best-in-class when it's boosted. It's honestly one of the more nimble ships that you can get into. And when you compare all of the racing ships, which I included the Peregrine, the Sabre, the Firebird. Now, Sabre and Firebird aren't really racing ships, but I included their numbers in my analysis because they're all within the same ship family. You have the Fury LX, the 350R, the M50, and the Gamma. The Peregrine is frankly bottom half to almost bottom on all of those maneuverability metrics. So you start seeing how the balancing is being done between speed and agility. So while the Peregrine might dominate in straight lines, it's going to fall behind those on tighter, more complex tracks that are going to require precision and quick directional changes. The Peregrine isn't just a repurposed Sabre chassis. It's actually been equipped with 2 additional maneuvering thrusters, giving it better lateral and vertical acceleration than any other Sabre variant in the game. This helps it to remain competitive in races where direction changes are important, though it's still not going to be able to match the turning power of the Fury LX. But the Mavs give you some additional control over boosting maneuvers, making it a more versatile ship than just like a pure drag racer, like if you were to compare that to like a Drake Herald or something. But one thing that does make all of this comparison interesting, and why we talk about the Fury LX, even though that's really more of a snub and it doesn't have the quantum drive, is because they are the 2 ships in the game that are built for racing that have no weapons. They've basically given it all up just to be able to race, and when you see that, you see they're doing it in very different ways. One is straight line speed, the other is crazy agility. So if the Peregrine is all about speed, what is it sacrificing? Well, we kind of already hinted at it before, but it doesn't have any weapons. That's right. The Peregrine is one of the only two that we just talked about that has no hard points whatsoever. And you have no ability to bring any missiles along either. Now, that does give you a little bit less drag on the Peregrine, which is going to improve some aerodynamics. And while it may not be able to fight back in a PvP or PvE encounter, this also means that you won't have to worry about balancing its offensive systems if the ship did have hardpoints and now was kind of a balancing liability in the larger gameplay arena, because now it has the ability to give damage output as well as a lot of speed. It simplifies balance from a development perspective. And of course, with its focus on speed, the Paragon's fuel consumption is something that you're going to need to keep an eye on. The engine performance booster, which replaces the missile bay, increases its fuel burn rate significantly. So while the Peregrine can pull off insane speeds and acceleration, it's going to burn through fuel faster than something like the Sabre Firebird, where it has a bit more balance between the speed and endurance, and that seems to be a consistent theme across the other racers as well. The Peregrine is a perfect ship for those short, intense races, but for something like the Daymar Rally, where if you're going to burn a lot of fuel and you will need to, refuel at some point, you might see yourself having to do that more often than you would have if you would have opted for a more efficient platform for that race in the beginning. Then there's the question of durability. While the Peregrine still has that armored frame that you would expect from a Sabre, it's not designed to take hits. If you're racing and someone bumps you or you crash, the Peregrine is likely going to hold up better than a lighter ship like the M50, but in a combat situation, you probably shouldn't expect to survive unless you just try to avoid the fire and use your speed to leave and get out of there. Now, as CIG's clarified, this ship isn't meant to be durable. It's meant to be fast. You're trading survivability for speed, and when you're flying the Peregrine, it's all about staying ahead of the competition, not staying alive in combat. Finally, let's talk about its component setup. The Peregrine is outfitted with 2 small shields, 2 small power plants, and 2 small coolers, which is honestly pretty standard for a ship of its size and weight class. Now, it may lack offensive ability, but it does have the standard contingent of countermeasures, keeping it in line with the other racers in terms of basic defense mechanisms. However, because the Sabre chassis is larger, that means the Peregrine's cross-section is large compared to more compact racers. So expect it to be lit up on radars, and with the components that are probably competition class, or you will at least opt to have those in there to suit the role, you're going to be loud and hot on radar, meaning you're not sneaking past anyone in the ship. The last thing there about the size, we've already talked about it not being a particularly nimble ship. Now all of a sudden you're dealing with a large ship that's not all that nimble. So getting around turns means you might not be able to squeeze things or squeeze through things as effectively, or getting through asteroid belts may be harder. So depending on your course, the size may be a limiting factor in your overall success in the race as well. So what's the final verdict on the Peregrine? Well, if you're looking for pure, unadulterated speed in a straight line, then the ship is almost unbeatable. It has the highest forward acceleration and some of the best boost capabilities in the game, making it ideal for straightaway focused tracks. But for tighter, more technical courses, or if fuel efficiency is a concern, you may want to try and look at more agile racers like the Fury LX. But should you buy the Peregrine? I think the answer for most people is a pretty straightforward no. It's too niche. You have no cargo, no weapons, you only have a single seat, there's not a lot of durability. It's kind of a one-trick pony, and while it undoubtedly will do that well, it's not even always the right choice in the area that it's meant to succeed, being racing. There's arguments that something like the Peregrine could be good for scouting, or maybe information running, if something like that could fit into like your personal storage, so where you're not using like data centers within your ship, but maybe you're just taking information from one player to another. And maybe you can fit it into your personal storage, but that's even pretty limited on the ship. So if you're looking for a personal transport to just get you between spaces quickly, then it might serve a purpose there. But based on the price, I'm just not sure if it makes sense to kind of shoehorn it into other roles where it's purely designed to excel in one role. The Peregrine's price is $170 at Warbond, or $185 standard, and for that, you're getting a ship that's built for speed junkies. Just keep in mind its limitations. No weapons, no fuel efficiency, and lower agility. But if you're only looking for and you're ready to experience top-tier straight-line acceleration, the Peregrine might be the perfect addition to your fleet. So that's it for this video. I appreciate your patience and the time it took to come out. If you have any questions, please get them in the comments. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more coming soon. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.